sweethearts. What are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed? Another glorious day on the podcast. Day on the podcast is like a day on the farm. Every intro is a banquet. Every listener a fortune. Every episode a parade. I love the podcast.
Look into my eye.
Look into my eye. She must not like the cornbread either.
What are you waiting for, sweetheart? Would you fetch my slippers for me?
Gee,
That was an easy
would
one.
you?
An easy but fun one.
Totally easy but fun. Yeah. I wish one of us hadn't seen Aliens, because then I would just pick Aliens.
Legendary Bill Paxton.
I'll hit myself over the head with a hammer so I forget things.
I don't think that's necessary.
Then I'll watch Aliens and then we'll do
We
it.
can just end the conceit for one episode. You don't have to cause bodily harm to yourself. I'll give myself a traumatic brain injury, so I forgot.
Just so I can see it again for the first time.
Then you'll remember Aliens but forget your family.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who are you? Gee, have you seen Aliens? It's really good.
Well, we're not talking about aliens today. We are talking about the end of the world as we know it, and almost nobody feels fine. We're talking about the 2006 science fiction thriller Alfonso Cuarón's Children of Men. It's yet another dystopian apocalypse. I think what are we, up to 3 or 4 on this podcast.
We certainly have a type at this point.
Right.
But this time, it's not set in the far, far future. It's set a mere 3 years from the time of this recording.
Dun, dun, dun.
And it's not nuclear bombs or alien invasions. There's zombie uprisings that do it this time. No, this time it's the humble infertility.
A little known fact, this is actually a sequel to the movie Junior, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as a man who gets pregnant. Yes, Children of Men. It was the original title of Junior was Children of Man, and then this is the sequel, Children of Men. I have a baby in my belly.
I'm laughing because I completely forgot that movie existed.
I'm having contractions in my lower area. Ow! I don't know how women did this. Ow!
He will literally do anything.
Will do
Just like a
anything.
script. Just
Be the
whatever.
governor.
This is like
Whatever the hell. Throw it all in there.
Yeah, he wasn't available for the sequel because he was already governor of California at the time. Though.
Yeah, exactly. That was twins. It was true. They were going to do twins. They were going to do this twin sequel. Danny DeVito was like, yeah,
I'm
we
on
got
board.
it all lined up, and that bastard had to become governor. He screwed it up.
that movie's actually funny.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Twins?
Did you see Twins?
Oh, no, I've seen Twins. I haven't seen
Oh.
Junior. I've seen Twins.
No,
for
no
sure.
one saw that. I don't know.
Wait, which
one's
Twins
that?
is funny.
Suggesting
What?
Schwarzenegger gets
Yeah,
pregnant.
he becomes pregnant.
I'm having a baby. Oh,
Oh.
no.
Yeah, the premise is
Holy
that all
shit.
Schwarzenegger gets pregnant.
I
It's like an
completely
Ivan
conflated those
Reitman
two
movie.
movies.
Oh,
Twins and Junior?
I totally conflated those two movies in my head just now. Like I had the cover where Arnold has the baby bump, and then
Yeah.
I was picturing is Danny DeVito in Junior?
And
No.
then Shaquille
okay.
O'Neal is a genie who makes the baby happen in Schwarzenegger, and his name is Kazam.
That makes sense.
And it's all
What a
connected.
crossover.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then Sinbad and him go and try and get some Christmas presents. So
Right. The jingle
Wow.
all the way
Someone
to
should
the bank.
someone should put Junior on the list because I bet that's terrible.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, and it
I
can't be
don't.
good, right?
Maybe I've seen it.
I'm writing it down.
I just trying to have a baby Danny DeVito so I can have a twin sequel.
I feel like this is a bit of a bump in the road for my career.
Why do
Oh
we
my
bring
God.
up Arnold Schwarzenegger every episode?
Because
I think
he's a jackass.
you
He's in
just like doing
everything.
the accent. That's the
I
reason
know.
why.
Mr.
Junior,
Universe, you're talking about.
the
I-
children of men.
I should have been cast in this one too.
I was the child. I was the first man to give birth to a child. I can't believe you didn't use me instead of Clive Owen.
I'm the reason that the world is infertile.
That's right. He broke it. He broke the whole model.
So as mentioned, this film stars Clive Owen, Julianne Moore, Michael Caine, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards for adapted screenplay, cinematography and editing. It also won a Saturn Award for Best Science Fiction Film, and nominated and won a ton of other films, a lot of which were centered around its excellent cinematography. So this film made it onto the Rabbit Fighters list based on Brian having not seen it before. Is that correct?
I remember trying to watch this,
Ooh.
and I realized I got as far as when he goes to
Get the coffee.
no, just shortly after that, when he goes and visits his buddy.
Michael Caine
I'm
/
blanking
John
on his
Lennon.
name.
That
What's
was
his name?
perfect. Jasper.
Yes.
Jasper. That's it.
So I got as far as him getting to like Jasper's little
Going to see
hideout
it
with
his
the branches,
weed head friend.
and then
And you were
after
like,
that,
oh no, hippies.
I don't know what happened. After that, it was all new to me. But I was like, oh yeah, I remember this part, and then nothing else after that.
But what's it about? Somebody want to break it down? What's the plot?
Yeah, I'll do it.
He loves to do it.
Yeah, so it's like the future, but not by much from now. And what's happened for the last 18 years is no woman has given birth to a baby on planet Earth anywhere. And that has caused absolute chaos. People have lost hope in everything. There are riots, there are nuclear explosions, there are wars, there's famine, there's mass migration from one part of the world to the other part of the world. Fascist governments have had to sort of take hold to handle the chaos, but they themselves are brutal and add to the chaos. And in all of this, there is one woman named Key, who's a migrant, which is the hated class in Britain in this movie, the migrants, the Fugees. She's a Fuji and is also pregnant with the only baby on planet Earth and the only source of hope for the rest of humanity. And they have to find out how to get Key from the chaos and death and horror of 2027 England to this group called the Human Project, which could possibly be responsible for the salvation of humanity.
Oh, man, now I feel terrible because I left out the actress who played Key from the top list there. And that's IMDb's
really
fault
good.
because they didn't even list her in the top. Clare-Hope Ashitey played Key.
Baby
and,
Diego was Baby Diego's fifth billing in this. I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
like Michael Caine.
The person who got their
Baby
arm
Diego.
blown off in the opening scene got their name on there. Cafe customer. Like, what the fuck? Did they left Key out of there? That's bullshit, man.
Yeah.
You also forgot to mention that I thought was interesting. The UK is the only organized place, which is kind of interesting. So all the immigrants are trying to get into Britain. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. It was like, why of all places would that survive as the one location that is of, some
why?
Modicum of civility, I guess.
Geography. It's an island. It's tough as shit to get there.
And also P.D. James was from England. So,
yeah.
All the others have fallen. Moscow, Rome, the United States, Canada, they've all fallen. Only Britain remains. I love the commercial. They have like commercials for their own survival. It's like, we feel the need to broadcast this commercial saying, we've made it, chaps. Even though it's an absolute shit show.
Interspersed with advertisements for euthanasia products. Like state-sponsored euthanasia product.
Want to know more?
And imprisoned migrants displayed alongside all roads like window shopping for misery in cages, which is just a horrific element of this movie. And I think it points to the fact that I read this. Alfonso Cuarón did not read Children of Men, which was called The Children of Men by P.D. James. He was handed a one-page summary of the book, and he was like, this is interesting. I'll write it. And he and some other folks came up with this script, which you can tell has a very Central South American, Mexican perspective on how migrants are treated by the rest of the world, specifically migrants who are not white. And that opinion is all over this movie. This movie is completely recast, where the fascist government in the book just has some weird draconian rules about stuff, like you have to have fertility tests. But in this one, it's what we're seeing today, this demonization of people who cross borders for whatever reason, almost always desperation. So in this one, it's a guy from Mexico who has spent his entire life watching the Mexican-U.S. border, and to an extent, there's a bunch of Central American countries in the Mexican border, be this huge flashpoint of controversy and misery and death.
That's an interesting take, and not one I really thought about. But now that you say it, I feel like it also applies to the quote unquote freedom fighters in the movie, because they're a shit show in their own right. You know, they're ostensibly fighting for the rights of the immigrants, but they're corrupt to the core and more interested in their own power, and you know, very very quickly are trying to find a way to take the whole "we got a baby" thing to popularize their own cause, rather than taking this as this is like a miracle and this could help all of humanity. No, this could help our cause, which I think is also, you know, arguably sort of a facet of Central American, South American, like revolutionary movements that invariably end up taking people out to the jungle and shooting them in the head. So,
yeah, I mean, there's no way to be a revolutionary group that's trying to overthrow a fascist dictatorship and not get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And I had sympathy for these people too. They make them real people. They give them real goals and real aims and real reasons for what they're doing. They're not like, moo ha 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 ha, we're going to steal the only baby on earth. Us. They have reasons for doing this, and their methods of getting to the place they want to get, where they smash the fascist government and bring their own order in, they have to be bastards to do it. They have to be murdering bastards. Luke, also biblical name. This is P.D. James' book, was drenched in Bible references. I guess it was supposed to be a biblical allegory.
Was it?
Yeah.
Were there a lot of white people with dreads in the Bible?
I don't think. Who knows? You know,
dreads was definitely a prominent hairstyle in this film.
Yeah. I think they stole. Didn't they steal that guy from the third Matrix movie or the second Matrix movie? One of those twins.
But then the midwife also had
dreads.
Yeah, she had dreads too. She looked like Adam Duritz from the Counting Crows.
Oh my God.
I thought it was kind of a funny, like,
yeah.
well, I shouldn't say funny, but vehicle to kick it off. It's just like, what, of all things, what kills Baby Diego? He gets stabbed for not signing an autograph.
Yeah.
I thought
really?
that was awesome.
Like that?
I thought that was
petty.
Awesome.
Just
it's the dumbest way to die, right?
Dumbest way to die.
Dumbest fucking way. I like that. Like Clive Owen's character is like, you know, Theo is like, yeah, can I have some time off from the rest of the day off? You know, I need to. Baby Diego's death is affecting me more than I thought it would. And then he talks to Michael Caine. He's like, Baby Diego's a wanker. Never liked him.
But it was kind of fascinating. It kind of was a little bit like a bit of the Truman Show type thing, where everybody was saddened by the death of the youngest person, and then it would just immediately fell to a woman that was like the 6 minutes later, which was funny. It's like, you know, why was he's a celebrity because he was the youngest.
This movie is fucking brutal, man. I'll just say this. It's so goddamn hard to watch because it's so intense. And also, how the hell did Alfonso Cuarón, that got nominated for Best Director for this movie? He does an incredible job with this. It just squeezes the absolute life out of you while you're watching this movie.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I do think it should have won cinematography, because there are some scenes in here that
incredible
are just really, really engrossing, where you're aware, like, you know, you're sucked into the story, but then the shots are so good, you become aware that, like, you're really watching like a masterclass in, you know, camera work and setting up the scenes. There's that one scene at the end that is just a complete when they're, you know, in the war torn, the refugee camp, and he's trying to get Key back, and the soldiers are coming in, and in the middle of a firefight. That's just one unbroken shot from beginning to end. It's like 7 minutes or more.
One take, and they're doing one take shots. Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Like that was the moment. Like I knew, like I wasn't watching just like a really good movie. I was watching a fantastic movie. Like
There's a movie called Russian Ark, which is famous for filming an entire hour and a half, 2 hour movie in one continuous take, where like, and it moves through this mansion and all these different people. And they had everyone set up in sequence so that exactly everything had to happen as the camera was coming to them. They had to be ready. They had to do their scene. They had to move on to the next thing. You couldn't screw up one thing because they were only going to do it in one take.
That's
and they
ridiculous.
had all this stuff set up. but like I can't remember what Russian Ark was about. Like it was more of like, let's see if we can pull this shit off, like a circus act. This thing, it's saying stuff, it's pulling you through the fucking emotional ringer. It's got all kinds of stuff to say about the world. It's got really compelling characters, and the unbroken shots are put in there to never let you take a breath.
Yeah, it has a purposeful, like kind of long lens, like documentary feel, especially like that war torn scene and stuff. I also read that the car chase scene was done in a single shot too, which is pretty cool.
I would love to know how they did that. Like, that's such a.
There's two of them. Like,
two. Yeah, there's
the car chase scene where they drive backward and those like barbarians are running. I was oh my fucking god! Like when that scene happened in the first time I saw the burning car comes down the hill and you're like, oh shit! And then these like maniacs come out of the hills. I was like, holy like Mad Max. Fuck! What the fuck? And then there's like
but there's the lead up to that too.
Oh my
god! But even before the action starts, it's all still the same shot where like Julianne Moore's like shooting the ping pong ball into his mouth. Yeah, and they're having like the conversation that you can see like the camera like to a full 360 inside the car. I would love to know how they did that, like with that quality, and then it just leads perfectly into they're suddenly being attacked by barbarians. It's crazy.
I thought so. Maybe I misunderstood that then from the plot. I thought that was a setup.
Yes, it was. It turned out to be a setup, but nobody knew it in this, in the moment, except for the Ejiofor, like the Luke character. He's the only one that knew, and like honestly, the amount of care they take into not killing Key, the pregnant woman,
which
is like, why would they risk everything in this scene? They could have killed Ejiofor, they could have killed Luke, they could have killed Key, like, and then the dreadlock guy reaches into the side of the car to shoot, Clive Owen's character, Theo.
He's like, I got a shot.
This is before, but when the barbarians attack, he doesn't even say it. He's going to shoot him, and Key is like next to him. So like, how dumb was that shit?
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
And they waste Julianne Moore. That was completely shocking. I was like, what the fuck? They just killed her. Like 10 seconds ago, they were shooting ping pong balls into his mouth, and you think they're going to get back together, and she's like bleeding out her neck. I was like, Jesus Christ, man.
There's a couple fascinating things I thought about the storytelling of the plot here. One is that they never tell you what caused the infertility.
Oh, I'm glad.
Which is
so glad.
They never really make that a point of like explaining what happened or why. And then also whether or not the human project actually really exists. So it's really just this kind of like metaphor for hope that you have to believe in. And that because everyone's like, because they say it many times throughout the movie, like, is it real?
It's Mara Land from the Mad Max.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel they all hope is there. But
well, I mean, the name of the ship was Tomorrow, and the Tomorrow did pull up at the end. So,
and I did also read. I thought was an interesting take too. I think from his explanation, the director's was that having the pregnant woman be an African woman made sense, and that like kind of the genesis of Africa, like that's like the rebirth of humanity. Coming back from where it all began, and obviously there's a lot of like religious nods everywhere and things like that.
Yeah, which was awesome. Where she was like, I'm a virgin. He was like, what?
Yeah.
She's like,
she's like, no, I'd be mad.
Can you imagine?
I'd be mad. He's like, oh, yeah. It's funny because I didn't read that about Africa, but that's what I thought when I was watching it. I was like, oh, yeah, like Africa was the source of human life in the beginning, and we're starting over.
Yeah.
Because, to jump ahead to the end, when they're in the boat waiting for the human project to come, England, being the last bastion of humanity's structure, gets basically nuked.
Destroyed, yeah.
Like
the flyby, yeah.
Yeah, the flyby like just seems to destroy everything, and you have this fog and mist, and it has this really like back to the origins of life feel about it. Like they're in this big open water, where all life crawled out of in the first place. And they're just in this misty body of water waiting for the next development in human civilization to happen. And the boat floats up, like the Ark.
I kind of wish the boat didn't show up.
If you didn't see it, you mean like they left it as like maybe it'll show, maybe it won't.
Yeah, like a little more ambiguous. Is like you could think of it as like if you're an optimist, you assume the boat is going to show up, and if you're a pessimist, then nothing will show up, and that's the end of humanity, essentially.
Well, it's funny because Quaron in an interview said that his take on it was, yeah, the boat shows up, but then it's glass half full, glass half empty as to whether they're going to be more people like the fishes or they're going to be really helpful. And like the cynical people will be like, oh, this is just more self-important people who want to take over.
See, I had read that he wanted the movie to be kind of considered a documentary of what happened before. Like, imagine the documentary was being made 50 years after the events of this movie. So they do survive, and it has that feel like this is how humanity like got out of it. So I assumed like they made it.
When he said documentary, one of the things, before I forget it, when they were going through the war scene, in Brexton or whatever it was called, they at one point blood splatters in the camera, and they leave it on there, and they just keep going with blood in the camera. And I was like, this is stylistically now switched into a documentary. Now we're a foreign war correspondent, one of those embedded correspondents, in the Iraq War, where they brought journalists in to like hype the U.S. military response. And you're going into this, we have no idea what's going to happen battle scenario. And he never lets you get an idea of what's going to happen, because every time something starts to happen, a tank blows up or someone gets shot in the head, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
It's shot like a war movie, like
totally,
like almost like a la like Saving Private Ryan, kind of like that.
Yeah,
like it's
the D-Day one.
That kind of thing. Yeah, it's like that kind of shot where it's, or even like Black Hawk Down, kind of like you're following a soldier in a sense, like moving forward and ducking between them. Things are blowing up. It's crazy. Like that's reminding me. I was like, oh, this is it's shot like a war film,
I still remember that scene in Saving Private Ryan in the Normandy Beach invasion where the guy gets hit in the helmet with a bullet, and he pulls it off to look at it, and then another one goes through his head, and you're like, oh God damn
that might be one of the greatest opening sequences in film history.
It's pretty great. Yeah, it's amazing how they pulled it off.
It's an interesting comparison because in this movie, Clive Owen, he doesn't pick up a gun once throughout the entire movie.
I noticed that. Yeah. I was like, he doesn't
I didn't pay attention to that.
No, not a single time in any context, like in the midst of the battle. Like his job is just save Key, save the baby, and get the hell out of there. And I think that's absolutely remarkable for a film that could have gone a different way as an action movie. Like he totally could have like started blasting people, but no.
Usually if you're the hero, you shoot everyone, Yeah. What I noticed in this one too, not only does he not kill anyone, the living world trusts him. He goes to that safe house, and the two dogs come over, and that Polish guy who's like guards him later says like, oh, they like you. They don't like anyone. In a later scene, he's listening to people talk, and there's this kitten in the room. They make a point of showing the kitten like climbing up his leg like 2 or 3 times, and at one point it's basically like patting him on the leg, and you're like, that's a strange thing to show in a movie like this, and it's got to be here for a reason.
Animals can sense it.
And then he goes into another like a safe house where they're waiting for the Jimmy guy or whatever, the guy who like gets him into the Brexton prison camp.
Sid or something.
Sid maybe, yeah, Sid.
He talks to the third person, so I can't believe I forgot that.
But like they're waiting for Sid. And a deer like walks by him, like walks out of the building in front of Theo. And this happens like 8 or 10 times. And Key inherently trusts him. She's like, I don't know this guy, but I will do whatever he says.
She doesn't inherently trust him. Julianne Moore told her to trust him.
After Julianne Moore dies. Like,
you can tell someone to trust somebody, and if you're like, I don't fucking trust this guy, you're not going to. They have her take his advice again and again and again and go with him again and again and again. And there are all these people that she could listen to. There's this theme in the movie, which I think is really interesting and cool, of the natural world liking him. He's this kind of nearly mythical connection with the natural world, and that's why he's the person that delivers the first baby in 18 years to the Human Project, that he helps deliver that.
I think that's interesting point too. I think this maybe connects to the lack of weapons or whatever. They do a very good job of humanizing him as like the everyman.
Yeah,
like kind of nonviolent, like, but he's like anybody. He's nothing special about him. That he's just kind of this protector, deliverer. In a weird. He's kind of like a steward. Like no particular amazing like super skill set or not being physical or there's no guns or nothing. He's just like a normal guy, that's been given a task, and he's, determined to see it through.
But I think more than anything, what did that was the backstory of him and Julianne Moore having had a kid, and they lost the kid due to a flu pandemic in the 2009 or something like that. And the fact that he has this fatherhood under his belt for a part of his life, everyone can entrust him to know what the fuck to do when the baby's born.
He delivers the freaking baby, which is an awfully graphic scene for a major Hollywood movie.
Not
nobody
sure I could do that.
Nobody shows you. I've been through 2 of these. I've been there as 2 babies were pushed into the world right in front of me, and it's not something you see in the average Hollywood movie. You see push, and then someone's like, "Oh God, it hurts," and then they're like, "Hey, look, a baby." You don't see a mattress soaked in blood.
A 3-month-old baby.
Yeah, exactly. A baby with hair and a smile and yeah, Hollywood cheeks.
That's how it happens, right? That's how I think it happens.
You just pop out, right?
Yeah.
This reminds me of that part where Michael Caine tells the story about the Englishman at the dinner. They're trying to figure out why can't we have babies? Why can't we have babies anymore? And the Englishman, he's tucking into his dinner, and he picks up a wing, and he's eating the wing, and he says, "Yeah, oh, I don't have any idea. It's this bloody brilliant stork." And then he goes, he's eating a stork.
The Michael Caine character was good, but he was kind of cheesy.
I love him in this, man. He's great.
I think it's one of his greatest roles.
What does he call everybody? He's like amigo.
Amigo, yeah. That's right, amigo.
So it's called strawberry cough.
Strawberry cough. Yeah. Cough. What does it taste like? Strawberries.
Tell Sid I said you're a fascist pig.
Tell him and then the second time he is going through the window and he's like, and tell him he's a fascist pig. Just gotta make sure. You gotta tell him he's a fascist pig.
He gets shot for saying "pull my finger" jokes. Just why do they? I mean, I don't know.
Allegedly, it was based on John Lennon. He based that character off of.
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah.
Was John Lennon known for fart jokes?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't know that it was based on John Lennon. I know he looked like John Lennon.
That's what it said.
Later years, John Lennon.
Mannerisms, he
based on him.
Had based it on.
Yeah, him. I thought I read that it said Michael Caine was friends with John Lennon, and he had kind of taken mannerisms from him or something But yeah, that character was pretty funny, and in terms of.
He's the joy in the movie.
He's just growing weed. He's just chilling.
And he's part of the natural world too. Theo's best friend basically is this guy, and he grows things. He lives in the woods. He's hidden. He's part of nature in a mechanized world.
And the connection to another movie we saw, Brazil, where Michael Caine's wife is tortured into MI6 tortures her into catatonia. Very similar to the ending of Brazil, where the main character is also tortured.
I like the scene with the suicide drugs is promoted. What is it? Quietus?
Quietus. But when I first thought it said coitus. And I was like, Julianne Moore's in this movie, coitus.
But the scene where you go in and you think Michael Caine's dead, he's like, no, he feeds it to rats or something. He's like, wakes him up. He's like, shit. I don't know if he was telling the truth or he had always sort of planned to use that on his wife or if something happened or whatever.
I think he planned on using it on his wife if something happened. Yeah, I think exactly that.
Yeah, he was prepared when he saw them coming. When the alarm started going off, he had the go kit.
But, it's always sitting there on the floor. It's a constant threat of death. You have to walk around it anywhere you want to go in the house. It's just sitting in the middle of the floor like a board game.
And it's crazy that they do show a commercial for it, and it's like you essentially, life is so terrible that if you want, we're going to market you you could end this if you want. It's so bad. It's Jesus.
I guess in the book, quiet is people go on these mass drownings. So in the book, it's not a government drug. They have these huge ritual mass drownings where everybody jumps in the water at the same time.
Fuck that.
Yeah, man.
It's not how I would want to go if I had to choose that.
Yeah.
I never really questioned it before until seeing it this time around. I just sort of took it for granted that, okay, there are no more babies that can be born. Humanity is on the way out. The generation that's here, they're the last generation. They're just going to grow old and die or whatever. The reaction to that would be this existential terror and depression and malaise that seems to take hold over every person on the planet that's left. This time around, as I was watching it, I kind of question that. Would that really be the reaction? Like, say humanity cannot reproduce anymore. What would our reaction actually be? Would it be that? It's believable, but I don't know.
In the book, they have a fascist government, but the fascist government has taken over to calm people down. Hey, we're going to give you drugs. We're going to give you sex. We're going to give you leisure. The population is slowly dwindling, so there are fewer and fewer people.
Bacchanalian orgy.
That was one of the main things that I had an issue with the movie was like, why are all these desperate people here when everyone's dying? Like, we've gone for 18 years with no one being born, and during that time, millions and millions of people would have naturally died, and then hundreds of millions more would have died through war and famine. All these, like, they're showing like Kazakhstan nuked by Russia. Wouldn't there be a lack of people as the problem rather than a massive surplus of people? And you're like, no, we can't accept any more people. Like, no one's making people anymore.
Yeah, I guess they don't really explain that. Maybe there's a reason why other countries potentially are uninhabitable now. Or
Britain possesses the world's, the lion's share of the world's fish and chips. And everyone just
all the chippies.
They've got all the tartar sauce.
Oh, go the chippies, mate.
To Britain. Yeah, I don't know why.
I assume like religious fervor would take hold pretty quickly. So maybe that's a reason why people are fleeing places, is because the religious nut jobs have just like completely doubled down. They're like, oh, the apocalypse is actually coming, and we're going to make life miserable for everybody else. Well, we're here, so buckle up. Like, yeah, I think I'm going to go check out England.
That is a comment. What have the Britons ever done for us? I'd start a group like in Life of Brian.
It'd be like
the People's Republic.
Fish and chips. Well, yeah, fish and chips. Yeah, that's a nice. Yeah, but what else are there?
The Tube.
What is it? The People's Republic of Judea.
Oh, the Tube.
The Tube
doesn't even run on time. Killed.
I don't have a point at all.
Oh, okay. I did think it was really interesting within the refugee camp, Brexit by the Sea, or Brexton by the Sea, or whatever.
Brexit's perfect, right?
Brexit by the Sea, where the Islamic protesters.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
They were
lined up.
Allahu Akbar, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like marching through the streets, and it had a very almost like, I don't know, Warsaw ghetto feel to it when they're up in their like little apartment overlooking the street with all the protesters going through it. And you see the army starts to move in. There was some really interesting like world building that I wasn't like expecting like that angle on it.
What Quaron was saying was that he was influenced by the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, and Syria, especially Syria.
Where did they get the horse from, though?
I mean, all animals can still reproduce, so
yeah, they can. Fine. They can.
No,
make more
how
horses.
did they get the horse into the refugee camp? And it's like a white stallion.
They blew a hole in the wall. They say that Sid is like, I heard the fishies, they blew a hole in the wall and they came in. The fishies are looking for you. The coppers are looking for you. Because I watched it twice. The first time I was like, how the fuck are the fishes? What, these guys just like showed up?
There's AK-47s everywhere.
Yeah, how was Dreadlocks guy here again? Where the fuck did he come from?
I was so glad. Couldn't wait for that guy to die. I was like, someone shoot this guy.
I know.
Finally he got shot and I was like, woohoo!
Fucking bastard. And it's funny because the way he gets shot too, it's so random. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, there's no significance given to anyone's death except
the music does not
Julianne
swell
Moore.
At all. Yeah.
No, it's just like cack, and he's gone. Like,
Luke was the leader, right?
Yeah, Luke's.
I was so much waiting for him when he's doing that conversation. It totally was. I was waiting for him to get sniped in the head when he's like talking, stopping. When he's outside a window, I was like, they're gonna shoot him in the head, and then they didn't. I was like, oh, they didn't do it.
I know.
I mean, then they blew up the room. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't do anything like you expect. It's like when the fishes find them inside of Brexton or wherever it's called, and they go to shoot him. He's like, all right, wait till we're around the corner and then shoot him, and then Dreadlocks guy just shoots that guy sideways to the head, and it's like it's so fucking brutal. And then you're like,
it's so casual.
It's really
and uncommented on. It just happens, and he's dead.
Dead
and that's
sideways.
Just like life. It's awful.
It's such fucking chaos, and that's probably exactly what war is like in reality. Like, no good moments, No heroic deaths.
I mean, I think the only thing that is slightly like unbelievable, but it was still crucial to the entire story, and I appreciated it like on a cinematic level, was when he's going down the staircase in the building and they reveal to the British troops that they have the baby, and they're like ceasefire, and like everyone stops fighting when like they finally have like this messiah moment where like everyone's like kind of thing. Absolutely, and that's like such a moving moment. But in reality, that shit would not have happened, like at all. No, some asshole, this gun would have gone off, and it just would have.
What I think was cool though was they had the guts to not end the movie there, because that would have been an amazing ending to the movie, amazing moving ending. They walk through the crowd, and the soldiers fall silent. The crowd falls silent. Everyone puts their guns down. Everyone lets her pass and go to the human
people
project.
Cross themselves and
you're like, and they're like, what have we become? What are we? But they do that for like a minute, and then someone shoots, and then it all goes to hell again. Because you can't fucking help yourself, because you're people. You can't help yourself.
It was masterfully done.
The director doesn't take any bows like Spielberg does. He'll deliver you the cinematic moment that you want. And you're like, oh, thank you. But secretly, you kind of hate him for doing that. At least I do. I'm like, you gave me exactly what I wanted, you bastard. It's too easy.
You let E.T. live.
Yeah, exactly. You let E.T. live.
Sliced that sucker up.
Unearned life. Yeah, we're like, if E.T. died, how fucking sad would that goddamn movie have been? Jesus Christ.
Kids just crying.
I know. But like, they don't have the guts to follow. It's like, either don't almost kill E.T. or do, like, he's like, I want to wring the pathos out of this character and then give you the Cinnabon ending where the sweet confection pops out and you're like, oh, it's okay.
I did know that he was shot, though. I could tell that was coming.
The Theo, I saw him. Yeah. I mean, you see him get shot in the warehouse.
Because Luke shoots him, right?
Luke shoots him like twice.
Well, you don't know, but you kind of assume that.
I watched it again to make sure, and like you see him get shot, and he puts his hands down to his stomach.
Oh, does he? Yeah. Okay. It's really fast moving, because I was like, he points right at him and shoots. And I was like, oh, I'm guessing he shot him, but
it's not a fake out where you're like, you didn't show this. It's not, not, it's earned.
And then, but they do wait long enough so that you kind of forget about it.
Yeah, you forgot.
Like, yes, he didn't. Then he got shot until you see the blood. But,
new shit has come to light, man.
I was trying to think an alternate ending, like if there isn't a boat that shows up, it's just her with a baby in the middle of this lake, and just like that ends there. I'm like, that's kind of fucking depressing. And also I kept being like, I think the baby's crying because it's fucking hungry and no one's feeding it. Like, I kept thinking that. I was like, someone feed the baby.
I love that part. He's like, is the baby okay? And she's like, he's annoyed. When they're in the middle of war. It lets you see that the character of Key is gonna be a fighter and a survivor. Like, it gives you a little more information about her. Like, she's in the middle of the most horrible scene on planet Earth, and she's like, he's annoyed. We'll fucking get through it.
If they do survive, I'm hesitant to. I'm scared to think of like how many other babies she's going to be forced to pop out.
Well, the baby's a girl
to save humanity. So
the baby's a girl, which is a big point. They're like, oh my god, it's a girl, because a girl can have babies.
It is about to get biblical up in here.
But I wonder if it's what the infertility is about, right? Because could you do a different way?
Well, the book is a different way. The men are infertile, and it is biblical. It's like
weak motility.
It's God's revenge on the wickedness of men.
Okay.
Don't wear those tiny whities. You got to wear briefs, guys. Or you got boxers. You got to wear boxers.
The boxer briefs are okay too. Those are okay. You can still, your swimmers can still work with boxer briefs.
The fate of the world depends on it.
But I feel like in the movie, I think it makes more sense to have female infertility being the problem, because like women are the givers of life, and really this is also about how we're destroying the earth. The earth is like our mother, and the earth gives birth to everything, and we're just destroying it. There's that twin, symbology there where like women are infertile, plus the earth is becoming infertile from all the destruction.
Did they ever define that though? They just say infertility. They don't mention if it's male or female.
He purposefully. No, they say.
No, he said all the women had
Yeah.
miscarriages. The women got pregnant and had miscarriages. They had that
Oh, right.
scene
She explains that in the
where
school of like
The
where it was
nurse
happening.
slash shaman
dread.
lady
Yeah.
with the Adam Duritz dreads is like,
She
when
called
I
her friend
worked-
who's a midwife, and then another
yeah,
city.
and we
And it's
called
may or may
Sydney, and Australia had no pregnancies, and it's
White
started
during. He had dreads. Could have been in
and
311.
then Sid showed up, the fascist pig.
311. The population is going down. If we don't have some more babies, we're all totally fucked.
Let's all twist some dreads now. They all got dreads. No.
I have to point out one of my favorite scenes in this is the no engine car chase where they're escaping from that is so goddamn smart and well executed and well thought out and so fucking tense.
You see them running down the hill after them in the
you're
distance.
crapping your pants. You're like, I'm sure they'll probably get away, but who knows? Julianne Moore just got shot in the neck after like 2 scenes. So who the hell knows who's going to live in this? And they're pushing the cars down the hill after each other. It's like go-karts of death. I was like, this is incredible.
He's trying to get her to jumpstart the car, and she hits like the brakes instead. And he's like,
Yeah, he's like,
the other.
he's like, it needs to go faster before you jumpstart it. Wait for it to get speed. And then that car that they push down the hill after him crashes into the trees, and the people run out with guns, and you're like, oh my fucking God. I don't think I've ever seen a no engines car chase in a movie before. And this has got to be the first one.
So, Greg, did you see this when it first came out?
I don't know, maybe the first year or two that it came out. We saw it, my wife and I saw it on DVD or something, because back then we had the Netflix where they mail you the Netflixes. And sometimes the movie went all ganky and you had to get dish soap and fucking wash the movie and put it back in.
I never did that.
It ganked on us a few times.
I think you just made that word up. What is it?
Yeah.
Ganking?
Where it's like gank, 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 gank. Like Joshua's video sometimes.
Oh, that's true. Oh, now it makes sense. Is that the equivalent of like blowing into the Nintendo cartridge?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. It worked though.
What about you, Brian? You didn't see this. Were you aware of it at the time?
Yeah. I mean, there was a stretch there where Clive Owen was pretty big. Like he had a string of hits that kind of came along, and
he was in one of the Bourne movies as an assassin. I remember.
Yeah, the first one. Oh, and he did that right around Sin City. He was in Sin City.
Yeah, in Sin City. Yeah,
I did see him in Sin City. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was on a tear.
So
man.
yeah, this was like early 2000s. He was in a ton of stuff, and then it kind of just tailed off. Like he hasn't been in anything like big in a long time.
Did he do like a Carrot Top movie and that ended his career or something? Was he in Chairman of the Board starring Carrot Top?
Circled back around. You're asking me if I was aware of this. Yeah, I did like that. At least the movie's in the future, but it's not futuristic at all.
Yeah,
like
not
it's
at
just
all.
reality. It's like everything is still the same. London looks very similar. It's just completely downtrodden and shitty now. Nothing has changed or really moved forward. We've just put up walls and everyone's pissed. Like
it's halfway between like Mad Max and Brazil. Where like it's not great and it's not like destroyed. Like it's what London was, but with misery layered in.
Some interesting trivia on that point specifically is that this was filmed in 2006 before the Shard was built. And they had the plans for it and knew it was being built. It went up in 2009. They CGI'd in the Shard.
Oh, no way.
In its location. So it's in the movie in 2027. But at the time of filming, it didn't exist. Which is crazy. Cool. Like that's just a little detail that it's like masterfully done.
The one weird scene that stood out to me was when he goes and visits his friend, I guess. Is it Nigel?
His brother. Nigel is his brother, yeah.
But he's got the statue of David, but it's missing the leg. I was like, that's really funny.
Like, we couldn't save the Pietà.
So
Guernica in their dining room.
And he's got his son or something. It's just like playing this game.
Like, that's like Brazil. That's like, very
what is going on?
His catatonic son with the clicky fingers.
Yeah, he's like
creepy as hell. I love that line though, where he's like, "All this stuff, not one sad fuck on earth will see it in 100 years," and he's like, "You know how I do it? I simply don't think about it." He just looks out the window.
Soldier on,
which is which is definitely like a rich person's idea of war. There's a war in Africa, there's war in the Middle East. You can look at your art, stare out the window at the stuff that belongs to you, and just not think about it.
Yeah. I assume we're all fucked, so.
Yeah.
My opinion changes from day to day on the events of the world. Yeah, we're fucked. Oh, we're fine. Oh, we're fucked.
It's funny, though, that the day that I watched this for the podcast, I was driving down the highway like 65, going through Nashville, all the industrial crap everywhere. And I literally said out loud, wow, I wonder if the human experiment has just kind of run its course. Like we're just the worst thing that ever happened to planet Earth. And then I went home and watched the movie and was like, well, good luck sleeping tonight, asshole. Cool.
I was having a conversation with someone today, and I just kind of flippantly said something, and they thought it was really funny. I was like, I don't know, like all people really do now, it's like we just fucking procreate and buy shit. Like that's the whole purpose now. Is it's just more shit. Everyone's distracted. It's fucking obnoxious. Like everyone's dumber now. It's just the worst.
And that is how the people in power want things. That's how you get fascist leaders, because everyone's distracted and stupid, and they de-emphasize education. They highly emphasize consuming and being distracted by crap.
Fear and consumption.
Smartphones are the perfect distractor. And
I know. It's the worst. I live in a town where it's essentially run by teenagers. And like they're just like completely mindless, like not paying attention, and they can't have a conversation with you. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's just like everyone's incompetent. I'm not saying like I'm the smartest human being, but it's also like I can talk to adults. Anyways, but I feel like it's all related. We're talking about humanity and its future. And
is it worth saving? Like,
we're probably gonna. It doesn't look bright. I mean,
if you look at the natural world, you're like, the best thing that could happen to planet Earth would be that we get wiped out. If trees could make movies, the Children of Men would be a comedy. They'd be like, ha, 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 look, they're all gone.
We need a solar punk future. Urban centers that are ecologically sound, with vertical farms to feed the populace, retreat from like agricultural areas, like the rural areas now. Let nature take those places back over. We go into cities. We're there for the culture. We're there for each other. We're there for the community. But it's all like ecologically sound. Like,
is that just a commune?
Now you're talking.
The fishes. Joshua would be in the fishes, man, right? You'd be like, like-minded people to share housing.
I'd be neighbors with Michael Caine. I'd be like, fuck all this.
I know.
I'm in the woods.
Hello, amigo.
Welp,
as they say on the internets.
Should we rate the sucker?
Yeah, I think that's our job, isn't it? It's our sworn duty.
Our unpaid job.
All right, grading scale. Is this a Ocean Gate Titan, or is it a Titanic?
Oh God, this is too soon.
Oh man,
man's hubris in several forms.
I'm gonna give this a Titanic. No, I enjoyed it. It was a good film. Like you said, the cinematography is really good. The story was interesting. I liked some of the ambiguity in it. I think it's a worthwhile watch. I'm gonna give it B+.
What were the points subtracted? Where did you subtract points?
As we've evident, there's a lot of dystopian films out there that kind of cover some of these topics, and they're always fascinating to me to watch and kind of ponder. But check it out again. Probably not. I feel like I checked the box. I saw it. It was a good film. I don't even have any bad things to say about it, honestly. So maybe I should have given it a.
I know. It's
there's nothing bad. Like maybe the dreads on
all the dreads.
That's right.
Wash your hair.
That's the worst thing about it.
In the future, nobody washes their hair.
Yeah, everyone's dirty.
That's why it's dystopian. You can smell your scalp from down the street.
Maybe I'm just dystopian out after Brazil and this.
I know. I was like, how many dystopian movies?
Starship Troopers.
We need a palate cleanser.
I'd give it an A-. A couple points I would dock are some strangely logistically screwed up things, like when they shoot Julianne Moore's character and they're like blasting into the car with the only woman on earth in the baby, you're like, yeah, fuck would they do that? Like, they're so careful about protecting Key. So That's my only reason I would give it an A- rather than
One
an A.
scene got knocked down.
Yeah, honestly, because it's the baby. The whole movie is about the baby. So yeah, when you make a boneheaded call like that, yeah, that's my only doc for it. It's an incredible fucking movie, man. Like the skill that went into it on all fronts is evident through the whole thing, and not in a show-offy way. I mean, it's kind of a dick move that he didn't read The Children of Men by P.D. James.
I've heard enough. We're doing it.
He wanted to take the premise but not do the book. So yeah, the technical skill behind this, the absolutely gripping fucking scenes that just come one after another after another. He never lets you figure out what's going to happen. Like, just people get shot left and right. Like, Sid is like really helpful, and then he holds them hostage. You know, like, what the fuck, man?
R.I.P. Sid.
R.I.P. Sid. I love that character until he went mental.
Taken out by a car battery.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what he hit him with? I couldn't tell.
Totally.
Oh, it's so brutal. Oh, God damn. I know. The little goofy moments they gave, like Clive Owen and Julianne Moore spit a ping pong ball into each other's mouths. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I love it, but what the fuck is this? Yeah, just so many interesting details. It's so well thought out. The newspaper clippings in the background tell the story without having to belabor it. You scan through a room, you get a really quick scan of like who is, Jasper, who's his wife. You get the interrogation room where they stick a bag over his head. The room's plastered with newspapers. Kazakhstan gets nuked. All these different,
they said that was the hardest scene to do because every single one of those newspaper clippings had to be written into the story, despite no one would ever see it.
And that's how this movie is an hour and 53 minutes instead of 3.5 hours, because there is such an economy of thought, an economy of detail that goes into it, where you tell so much of the story by just showing. You don't have all this fucking exposition, like the beginning of Dune, where she like recites the whole story of Dune, and you're
thusly.
Get on with it. Yeah. It's so fucking well done. And the acting is great and everything is great. So it's an A- for me, but really damn close to an A. It's great.
All right, it's a solid A for me. I love a good near future movie that's done in a realistic way. I love a good traveling movie as well, like where the plot is you got to get from point A to point B. A New Hope or Lord of the Rings.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
There you go. Yeah.
Like the Warriors, where they're just trying to get to the water.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
This is just a sequel to the Warriors, really.
But no, I love this movie. It is fairly depressing. I do, come away from it more often than not more hopeful than pessimistic. But it does touch on a lot of very true statements about how horrible humanity is. There's so many gut punches. There's so many scenes that are just intensely brutal because they have to be, and I totally respect the director for not doing anything cheaply. Everything is well thought out, and absolutely. So I would recommend this movie to anybody. I actually really regret not seeing it in the theater. I think in the theater it would be even more powerful.
Me too. Yeah, it was the feel bad movie of the year, which is why nobody saw it, because the critics loved it, people hated it because it makes you feel like crap. And also the title, I think the title doesn't do it a service. Children of Men, it's kind of a vague, fucking weird title. It doesn't say anything about the movie.
Like Brazil.
Right, like Brazil. Or why? But why is it called Brazil? I mean,
great example.
Yeah, men don't give birth to children in the movie. It isn't Junior. It just sounds really vague and not that compelling. So if it had a different title too, I think it might have done better.
Well, the title's biblical.
Yeah, I know, but change it. I mean, he changed the entire goddamn book, right? He didn't listen to anything P.D. James did other than the title and the infertility, and that's it.
Change it. What was the alternative title to Brazil again? That was better.
1984 and a half. 1984 and a half.
So much better than Brazil.
Yeah. Because 8.5 by Fellini plus 1984.
So good. Joshua hates it.
All right. 21st episode. in the can.
21st.
We are top 1% all podcasts to date.
All the other podcasts have fallen.
Yeah. The other
Only Rabbit
podcast-
Fighters soldiers.
Only Rabbit Fighters soldiers on.
Yeah.
Greg, you're up next week.
I'm gonna pick B
Right.
movie.
Mm.
B
Oh
movie.
no!
Yeah, B movie. Jerry Seinfeld's
Christ.
B movie, the animated movie where Jerry Seinfeld is a talking bee and
Oh, come
etc.
on.
I am not enthusiastic about this.
Yeah. We sure that's what you want to go with?
Sure.
Okay, that's what we're doing. B movie.
No.
We're doing B movie.
The
I was
council
going
is
to say,
spoken.
can't you pick something that's funny or
It's-
not depressing?
This will be
so
good.
weird. It's so weird. You have to watch
All
it.
right. All right.
Eventually, you're
There's
going to
a
make us
theme where I
watch
haven't-
the peanut butter solution. So
Fucking
I know
yes.
exactly. That's hanging over all the proceedings because I know.
and
it's
listen to
happening.
Steely Dan. So
You're gonna make us watch that shitball.
I forgot about the peanut butter solution.
Oh, great!
That one's
I
coming.
reminded him.
You know what? Because you did B movie, you can only imagine what's coming next.
You got a world of hurt coming your way, brother. World of hurt.
Is B movie based on another movie?
I hope
Original.
not, because that means there's 2 of these out there. All right, well, you guys be good. We'll see you next week. Where did they get the horse from, though?